So, I just got a big package from Free League, and I was happy to see that it contained a bunch of Alien stuff. Now, Alien, I'm gonna just show you guys, because I haven't really had a chance to look at this yet. I've been flipping through them at conventions, but I haven't seen it in the comfort of my own home, you know? So I thought, why not make like an unboxing video, or a flip through video, if you will, where I look at this thing, because Alien, I made the graphic design for this book, which is super cool. It's actually a great privilege, I feel, and like an honor to make the Alien, like an official Alien thing, because being a big Alien fan, of course, this is something special. And also, I'm very happy with how this book turned out. Like the graphic design of it, I think we had a bunch of design goals for this. And I feel personally that we, managed to fulfill them all. And I know, it differs a lot from the previous version of this game, the previous edition. And that's intentional, and not everyone will love that. Some people will think that this book is worse. Some people will think that this book is better. I think it's an improvement, even though I also appreciate the previous edition. But, they have their own strengths and weaknesses. So, cover image, I didn't really have anything to say there. This was provided for me. I think that this is a cool image. I think that this is something other than the kind of typical, concept art, like quote-unquote traditional RPG book cover. I think this is interesting, and I also like, maybe I can show you that. Maybe, I'm not sure if I got the cards, but I know for the card box we used the same image, and these fingers, the fingers of the facehugger, they were kind of wrapped around the card box, so that it felt like it had, hugged the card box as a face. Anyway, so this map, this was a doozy to make. Oh damn, because I had a reference image from the previous one. That image was super complex. It was like a dark, night sky with a bunch of star systems and a bunch of these sectors, and like the ring, you have the core systems, you have the outer veil, you have the outer rim, and within these you got a bunch of these the controlled like sectors. If the UPP here, it's the United Americas, it's the ICSC, and then you have the sectors and you have the systems, and there's quite complex thing to try to get readable. And I was provided like I think it was a raster image. So essentially what I had to do was trace it in Illustrator and redo the whole thing from scratch, which I think in hindsight was a good thing, because then I got full control of it. And you see my work in games like Merkborg and everything, and you think that I only do this sort of splattery punk kind of fast stuff, but I really like sitting and doing the nitty-gritty details of these things. Like I used to do a lot of annual reports back in the day, but yeah, so we got this. Damn, I can't spend this much time on each spread, but we did this map. There's also a bigger version of this map where every single star system is, detailed. So yeah, here we are, the whole crew. Kind of happy with this page, actually, with the balance of it all. Table of contents. Now, I feel like table of contents in a game like this is a pretty thick book, right? And it's a pretty, I wouldn't say crunchy game, but like there are a lot of rules, and there's a lot of content, if you will, in this game. So having a comprehensive and like big table of contents, this serves as an index. Maybe there is an index as well. I can't remember. There's a good index as well, but like this is all you need to like quickly navigate to wherever you want to go. And also, like when you first open the book and you flip through it, this provides a pretty good like overview, of course, of the book. And I like it how we managed to like add graphics and stuff into the text columns. There are a bunch of different levels. here you have the bulleted lists, you have the graphics, you have the sub-sections here, you got some hanging indents going on. It's a lot of detail. And yeah, I'm happy with that. Appendices got its own sort of spread with the symbols as, instead of the numbers. So like to separate them from chapters. So like these aren't chapters, these are appendices. They all have this symbol, which is a kind of technical symbol in a way, except Last Survivor, which is more like adventurous and more like dangerous in a way. So it has the facehugger symbol. So there's a sort of internal differences between these as well there. Now the chapter openings are pretty similar, almost identical to the previous edition. I changed up the typography a bit. Like this is, I think if the previous one used Gotham, I could be wrong here. I think he used Gotham as the typeface here. This is Neuhaus Grotesque. And Neuhaus Grotesque is the sort of it's the OG Helvetica, right? It is a new version, I think, of the font that later became Helvetica. So this is sort of in my opinion, I love Helvetica. I think Neuhaus Grotesque is better. So here's a typical spread, right? This is what it looks like most of the time. I try to keep it very, we wanted to be inspired by technical manuals of the 70s and 80s. We wanted this to feel, more readable, more like utilitarian, more usable at the table. Not so much a coffee table art book as the previous edition was, more something that you can easily reference at the table. And I think we achieved that. I think, I looked at a lot of like as I said, like technical manuals from the 70s and 80s and took inspiration of like what makes that work. Added some more modern design sensibilities like these, infographics. It's a bit of like web UI inspiration happening, which I guess makes sense if you want to add that sort of sci-fi touch to it. But I don't know. I wanted it to sort of be reminiscent of a document that could be found printed on the Nostromo. Something that Weyland-Yutani could have put out. Something they could have designed, And then we added these things that are like, it's like a nod to the sort of computer monitor aesthetics that would, be found in the Alien universe. Since these are like audio logs, you see the sound waves. So these sound waves, they're different because the voice profile will be different. And I also added, so like here, the person is a bit stressed out. So I made them bigger, like I made it sort of crack and like go over the threshold there a bit. So the details of the sound waves sort of mirror the contents of this. And also here they have the little pause button because, pause recording. This is the end transmission thing. So I love details like that. Throughout the book, and this is something that I try to do with all the books that I lay out, I want to avoid ending a paragraph or even a segment halfway through here and then continuing up here. I want everything to be contained within each column. Like, right, you know what I mean? Like, it's important to me that the headlines and the section openings, like the beginnings here, like they start at the top of the page. So like this, like it's much, much easier to find stuff and it becomes so much more column and collected. And like the same thing here, I want to align it all at the top. I want it all to feel sort of balanced. Let me see here if I can find a good example of that. Yeah, no, but throughout the book, this headline, I think this is the headline 2 level, like they will always start at the top of the page. Might have, I might have had to abandon that rule at some point. You have nice ambitions and then you encounter reality and, you have to adapt. Also I think this is the first game that Free League did with these sort of flow charts. And now they're popping up in more games. And that's a very good thing, because this is, I feel, helpful when you play a game and when you learn a game. And I feel like flowcharts like this is kind of underutilized in role-playing game book design. Also, how cool is it that I am an illustrator in a fucking, like a official Alien thing? Like, that's cool. I'm super stoked to be, have illustrations in this and not just graphic design. Really cool. I mean, the bulk of it, the majority of it is, of course, Martin and his art. That's what sort of carries this thing. But to be able to add just a little spot art here and there is just so, it's cool. Also, these quotes, I actually spent a lot of time finding these quotes. Like, I got some of these quotes provided, I think, but I dug up a lot of them myself too. And I had to go into the sort of extended universe as well at some point and go into like the comics, the video games, to try to find quotes that said something about what's going on here. Most of the time, at least. Some are kind of general, but often I try to have them sort of mirror and build on what's written on the page. But yeah, no, it keeps going like this. I think I'm actually very happy for this. Like, the design concept that we made, it worked, And then you get some sections like the gear and tech chapter where you had to invent new solutions. So for the gear, like these tables, the way that the weapon art is presented on these almost like workbench things, kind of like it reminds me of these what's it called, like when you cut paper, like when you're in because I come from that sort of graphic design background. Like, you have these cutting boards that have these squares on them. Like, it feels like one of those here, where you place your weapon on that to modify it. Yeah, these pages are actually quite complex because it deviates and it differs from the rest of the book in that you have these wider columns, these kind of thinner columns here, or narrower columns, I should say. It all follows the grid, but it uses the grid differently. So you got 3 column here instead of 2 column, because this is more of a table almost. Also for these, see how the underline separating this headline level also continues into becoming the sort of arrow pointing at the thing. So I tried to connect the art with the text through graphic elements. Also here, very important for me that these sections begin at the top of the page so that you don't have tools starting down here. I think I had to do that at some point. No, maybe not. And the vehicles, they're huge. It's nice to be able to like show the art big like this. I think this here sort of continues. Yeah, at this point, like here, I had to invent another kind of fact box, station data. It worked with a little graphic there. What's the story mother? Like a box in a box. It's boxes all the way down. Ship classes. Some of these tables are really complex with subtables within the tables. So like, I think I had one of them here. Yeah, like here, see? It's a table kind of inside a table. I think maybe there's a better example of that. somewhere else. Let me see. Yeah, here, you know, tables with different number of columns. And it's so good. I mean, I'm not saying it's so good like the work I did, but the whole, I think this is a good game, right? I think this is the art, the text, the rules probably is solid. I like this as well. Like how we made these segments. So contact is within the same segment. These lines divide the segments. So like on either side, there's a segment. So this one is within the same segment. This is the next one. This is 2 segments away. This is up to 4 segments distance. So you have this big line separating medium and long, and then you have this thinner, smaller line showing that long has a range, right? And extreme is up to 8 segments. So like each of these lines from contact represents 1 segment. That didn't make sense, but you know what I mean. That's just cool. Combat stretches. Got some graphics here as well, showcasing ship combat. These faces have a little tiny, like a small graphic just to make it clearer that this is a linear progress in the system. Like you go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, and I don't know, we use that in the table of contents as well. So like when you go to the table of contents, you will see them here. Just easier find and easier identify different parts of the game text. This is pretty straightforward layout because this is all about running the games. Same here. Blah blah blah. And yeah, flip through it here. Systems and planets. Okay, so here we go into these small maps. So these are snippets from the big map showing where this sector is in, in relation to the other systems. And same here, like there's a bunch of different levels, and I want to have the territories and the territories, the core systems. Like I want these parts to begin at the top of ideally the left page. You get a spread containing the systems, and then with the sectors within. But then you also have to add these maps that you want to have near the sector they're talking about. Any fact boxes that should be in there. So I think in this case, because Tartarus sector came here, I couldn't start it here. Like I had to push it off to the next side. So I had a big white space there. And what I do with that? I find a quote that has something to do with what's going on here. So there's a lot of these quotes are actually a pretty good, they solve a lot of problems with white space and empty spaces. So it's good. Look at this art. Fucking good stuff. Alien species. Here we got some nice xenomorph graphic, I think, showing. Yeah, here, that's cool. So showing like the size differences for these guys. So you have from the egg all the way up to the queen with a human for comparison, and then we have a zoomed in just to show how big these guys are in compared to a human. It's cool, like because they'd be too small to have there. Plus we had some space over there, so that's cool. What else? Yeah, I think there's not much more to say. Like we've already looked at most of this book. So there's an adventure. No, it's not an adventure, but there's like a space station here that has a pretty cool graphic, I think. Oh yeah, these maps. Excellent work. Also the same thing here. This was from the previous version, I think. I just cleaned it up a bit, changed the colors around, and adapted it to the new design concept. I feel it looks good. I think it feels like a blueprint, like a schematic of a place. And same with here. Like it's a lot of work, a lot of nitty-gritty, details doing that, but pretty happy with it. So yeah, no, I'm satisfied with this. This is probably the biggest role-playing game project that I've done, but I am very, very happy to have this in my portfolio. And I was also given a bunch of other stuff for... Oh, hey, there's me. A bunch of other stuff for this game. So this one I know I designed the sort of packaging for. I'm not a big miniatures guy, but this is cool. I might actually open it up. Should open it up. Why not? Now watch me cut myself and bleed to death. How do I do this? Alright. That should do it. Let's do more. Now this is what I call content. Alright. That's it. I was actually surprised because I did the design for this. For some reason, I did not expect this to be this big. I thought the box would be smaller because it was minis. I expected, the miniature box is probably going to be small. But it wasn't, because there's a lot of minis here and a lot of other stuff as well. Look at this. I don't need this. So, let's start with the minis. I don't know what to say about the minis, really. They're really good. I mean, yeah. It's cool xenomorph. Some guys, some victims. Dude with a suitcase. No, it's a first aid kit. Some face huggers. This is cool. I wish I could paint miniatures, but I cannot. This is an empty, in case you want to draw your own face hugger, they provide you with an empty paper. That's nice. Some ads. Actually, pretty fucking cool game coming up soon. I wonder who did the design for that. Same here. Also, hey, look at this. Now let's talk about this instead. I'm kidding. Some tokens. I didn't do that. I didn't do the skirmish rules. Who cares? I don't want to look at this. No, for real, this is really cool. Like, I think providing skirmish rules, if you also, you get miniatures and you get full-on skirmish rules so you can play. It's like you get another game. Super cool, I think. Also, speaking of super cool, this one. The GM screen. Hang on. I think that this is a really, really good GM screen. And I will show you. Because it's cool. Game Mother. Excellent name for a GM. The screen is good because this is the strongest argument I have. It is good because look at it. Look at how cool is this? It's like you're in the control room. It's like you're in Mother. Sounds weird, but yeah, it's... also, I don't know. I'm not unhappy with how this turned out. I think it's clear. I think it's, got everything where it needs to be. It's a miracle that I made everything fit, actually. Because of how complex these flowcharts are. It's not really like you can just take one and squeeze them together, You can just imagine what's happening when you do that, when you change the sizes of this. And, it was a bit tricky to have everything fit. But we managed. And I'm glad we did. Now, always difficult to do that. Cool. Let's do 2 more things. Starter set. If you want to have a box with a little bit of everything, I think this is just that. I think this has... this is the perfect... I'm turning into a commercial. This is the perfect gift for the nerd who has everything. Now this is a good summary. Like if you want to buy someone something cool and alien related, and they are a role-playing game nerd, you should probably consider this thing because it has a bunch of really cool stuff in it. First of all, a great box. Look at the backside. Beautiful backside. well laid out. All these little things. Also, there are a lot of rules for those things. Like for, can I do this? That's pretty interesting. I didn't know that this one, all these, pretty solid rules on how, like, what colors they should be, and especially when you don't have the vector file, you have to make them from scratch. Still, be compliant. That's, you learn something every day. More ads. Already read that. Oh hey, I got cards and dice. Cool dice. Another miniature. See, you have everything in this. You have even more dice. So many dice. You have 2 little black dots for the supply dial. Now this one I need to build. You can skip ahead if you want to hear me talk about graphic design and stuff, because now I'm going to build this supply dial that I also designed. So it's it is graphic design still. It's just a different kind. It's not book design. So this one is something like one of those spinners where you can use to, I believe, keep track of your resources. Ammo, oxygen, food. I don't know. Kind of think they should have included more of these so that each player can have one, but that's not my call. It's cool. Never done one of these before. So it was like in the beginning when I got the job to do it, it was like, where do I start? But then I just drew the design in Illustrator, and of course, the printing house figured it out. It's pretty simple. It's just 2 pieces of cardboard and black little plastic dots, but still. Sometimes when you begin working on something that you've never done before, you get a moment of like, where the fuck do I even begin? And even though, it's usually very simple. I'm actually going to show you, hang on, I'm a bit confused here. I'm going to show you the cards. So this is what I talked about, the box. See? The face hugger is hugging the box. It's not my idea, actually. That was actually Don Adistad who figured that out. Who is the guy who made lots of these, the layouts that I didn't do. And he also makes the layout for basically every Swedish role-playing game. Okay, so can I open this without ruining it? Oh, I can. Cool. So these cards, this is cards of all kinds. You have stress responses for when you get really stressed. I tick all of these boxes. Panic responses, same there. Actually, the material, the card stock, they feel good. This is one of those projects where I wasn't involved in choosing the paper stock or like card stock, but I'm very, very happy with the choice of these actually. They feel sort of matte and like there is some kind of varnish to them, but it's a matte varnish. And they're really just the tactile feel of them. It's really nice. Kind of hard to browse through like this or flip through. So you are wounded. You get some of these cards. Fatigue. You also have personal agendas for each act in the introductory adventure. So every player has 3 of these, and I guess when the next act begins, they pick up the new card and they see what they want to do, what their character is all about. So every person has 3 of these. Initiative cards, 1 to 10. A bunch of guns. All the weapons have a card with all the stats and everything. That's cool. Some people think having cards and tokens like this makes a game more board gamey. I kind of disagree. I think when I sit at a table, I want to have something to fiddle with. Like, I want to have something like physical, so that I don't forget my stats and my shit. And that's why, for instance, that's why I love Mausritter so much and the inventory system for that, because it's that sort of klippdocka, what's that in English? Cutting doll, paper doll like thing. A bunch of backers. That's nice. Have a little introductory thing. But this is the sort of... Oh, this is the main thing I was about to say, and then 5 things rolled out. This is the rules. Same thing, really, as in the big book. It's just fewer pages. A lot of the... I was about to say a lot of the spreads are identical. I actually think many spreads I had to redo entirely because of the way it's been edited. But I could reuse the assets and the typesetting and everything. And this is Hope's Last Day. Adventure might not show every spread here because there are some like spoilers and stuff, but they have, the first time we see how stat blocks look, the first time that we get like maps and shit. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Rules reference cards, bunch of them. Same challenge doing this as doing the GM screen, where you have to like cram a bunch of content of unruly sizes into one sort of contained space without messing them up too much. Pre-gens, map, yeah. There's nothing here. We just added a black background because it's better than having a nothing background. And this, I can't show you the whole thing, but this is the map, the big old map. They wanted to have it negative, as in, black background instead. So this is the map with all the different star systems named. And on the back, you have a zoomed in, sort of miniature friendly, I guess, map of Hadley's Hope that you use when you play the game. Same here. Same here. That's cool. Cool stuff. But let's look at the last thing then, because there is another box with another adventure. And I have something in there that I think is especially nice. Handouts that I had a lot of fun doing. So, Rapture Protocol, cinematic adventure. Let's see here. So, let me cut that open without ruining the... I'm not that fussed if I should happen to ruin the box. Like, I'm not gonna use the box to play with. I'm gonna store shit in it. So, let's see. Generally, I try to not be too precious about my books and stuff. I mean, I'm not reckless with them or anything. But I think books are meant to be used. So this one it's a smaller box, half as thick, but it contains a bunch of stuff. So these are character cards, including the cat. There's a cat, of course. I've already shown how that works. The games catalog, screw that. More tokens. See here. So Rapture Protocol, kind of thick booklet. This is an adventure where you go to this station and a bunch of bad stuff is happening there. A mining facility. Not going to show you too much there. So I don't know, like making these, when you go into making these sort of when you continue the graphic design concept that you had and the templates and everything, and you realize making these things that, this works. It flows kind of naturally. And, the solutions that you came up with, they actually hold water throughout, this entire product catalog. That's a very nice feeling. And it makes me feel like, damn, it did the job that we set out to do. Like, managed. I got to draw a xenomorph. Not as good as Martin does, but still. Now these are handouts, so I'm very happy with these handouts because I'm a big handout fan. So I made this. This is like a poster that you find. This is probably also very spoilery. So, but yeah, I was like, okay, so we have to have this feel like it's been folded. So I added these folds even on the backside. You have this. This diagram is divided into squares. They all have their name. And then on this little mini-map, for some reason that only Weyland-Yutani can answer to, each each point of interest is marked with a dot here. So like the entrance airlock is there, followed by sub-level 1. You have the scrubber building up there. So this is not just decoration. This has in-world function. Also, I failed to mention that in the book, but this logo, Weyland-Yutani Corp, Building Better Worlds logo, this is my favorite logo of the various Weyland-Yutani ones because it has the Building Better Worlds in this funky, kind of ugly font. It's taken directly from Aliens. There is a short scene where, the kid is on the tricycle going past some sort of door, and on the wall it has this logo there. I couldn't find this logo anywhere, and they didn't have it like vectorized, so I had to take a snapshot from Aliens. The wall with this logo on was kind of in an angle, so I had to straighten it up using other Weyland-Yutani logos as reference. I had to straighten it up, and then I had to carefully, meticulously trace each letter. So this is not a font, this is vector actually, like based on the screenshot from Aliens. So that's what I spend my time on. And these are also very spoilery, I guess, but these are handouts that I made. I found this, I think 2 of these at least are, I found some kind of template for making these kinds of terminals. And I just had a lot of fun with them. Like you do the design. I did the design in InDesign, and then I just imported it into Photoshop, applied this effect, this template, and tweaked it a bit so that it looks like it was taken from a terminal in the Alien universe. This is inside, this is Mother, right? I found there is a website, I can't remember the name of it. I think it's like Fonts in Use, but in just sci-fi movies, and they analyze different space, like sci-fi movies and the typography in them specifically. And they have a big article about Alien. And in that article, they talk about the typography of Mother. So with that as referenced, I figured out the exact typeface that they used for the Mother terminals in the movies, how much they had altered it because it was a font that they had made wider. And I did the same thing here. So this text is actually 100% movie accurate Mother. This is how it looks in the movies. And this is not Mother, this is another system. So I used another vibe for this, but I tried to have it align with the aesthetics that we were going for. So that's cool. And then, you have more pre-gens, more of these cool fucking maps, big maps, smaller maps, backside of the box, and that's it. So, get this thing. It's pretty cool. I'm very happy with it. Hope you liked the video. Bye.